This weekend, Chito Vera takes on Cory Sandhagen at UFC San Antonio. Sean O'Malley on his YouTube channel gives his prediction for the fight. Sean thinks Chito will get the W.
So I think it's going to be an epic fight. Interesting, Cory, Henry versus Aljo, May 6th, still there. No one's pulled out of that yet. I'm still preparing as much as I possibly can to, if they call.
Yeah. Well, so what's your final prediction for Chito? I know it's hard to call, but
I vote, or no, I predict against Chito, and he always wins. Yeah, I always think, but Cory's very skilled. I'm gonna go with Chito though. I think I'm just saying that right now. I don't know. It's hard for me to guess on fights. But I always say it's someone other than Chito, and Chito wins. So
I want to say
Chito.
Betting odds on that really quick, just because I'm curious.
Ooh, that is. I bet Cory's underdog.
Cory is a slight favorite, -165. Chito at 140.
That's crazy. So yeah, very interesting. It's a very competitive, close fight. It's hard to predict.
Ahead of his fight against Chito Vera this weekend at UFC San Antonio, Cory Sandhagen says that it's lame that Henry Cejudo is getting a title shot.
What are your overall thoughts just on Cejudo getting the shot? Because there's like two camps, right? Like, he never lost his belt. He's done so much for the sport, right? But at the same time, he hasn't fought in a while. So where are you at on that? Are you okay with him coming in and just getting a title shot?
I guess I'm okay. I guess I'm okay with it. But I do think that you shouldn't be able to just pop out of retirement and then just fight for a belt. That seems a little bit lame to me. You shouldn't have retired in the first place if that was the case. That's my opinion on it. But I really, as long as I'm not the one that's competing against Cejudo for the next title shot, which I don't really feel like I am, then I could kind of care less.
I'll add one more. What are you expecting from Cejudo? Because the division has changed so much since he was champion, and in activity, that's also a factor as well. Plus, I think he's 35 or so. Do you think he'll be champion? Do you feel like he's still a top dog here?
I don't know, to be honest. That's actually a really interesting fight. You get two guys that are really good at wrestling, and usually what you get is a not so good kickboxing match, which could be what it is. But I also could see just Cejudo using his takedowns just to nullify close rounds. I think that will probably be his path to victory, is he'll just try to score some takedowns, not really mess around too much with Aljamain on the floor, just do that to nullify the striking that I feel is probably going to be pretty close. But yeah, that's a tricky one. I have really no idea what Cejudo's been up to, except for making YouTube videos. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I guess we'll see.
Are you a subscriber to his channel?
No. You should see my algorithm. It's really, he pops up there every once in a while, and I'm do not click on that, because the second you click on that, you're just gonna get 5 more of them.
Recently, Joe Rogan said that Jorge Masvidal is better than a prime George St-Pierre. On the Joe Rogan Experience, Joe said, "I just think the level of competition he faced is higher. GSP was so good he raised the bar. But you look at GSP's victories, he beat some very good guys. But I think the guys Kamaru Usman beat, Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal, Tyron Woodley, I think they're better." Joe was then asked if he thinks that Jorge Masvidal is better than George St-Pierre. Joe said, "Yeah, I think if Masvidal was around at that time, he would be dangerous for everybody. I think he's on another level. I think everyone is on another level. The Masvidal that knocked out Ben Askren, that was one of the craftiest moves that anyone has ever done. He went sideways and ran straight at him, and Askren's instincts kicked in, and he kneed him into the Darklands. Just one shot, boom, into the Shadow Realm. Masvidal, he knocked out Eve Edwards with a f***ing head kick back in the day. He is a f***ing assassin. Masvidal is a gangster." Chael Sonnen responded to this comment on his YouTube channel and believes Joe Rogan is on drugs. Chael said that's not a rational statement. Joe Rogan is fantastic at his job, and when you talk a lot, you get some things wrong. He put Masvidal over as an example that today's welterweights are far superior, and they're better than George St-Pierre. We should just dismiss this. What Joe said and how he did his math is very common, but I would like to correct you on what a non-420 mind can come up with. Joe got to that point by stating that the competition is harder now than it was then. What does the competition have to do with the guy? Nowhere in life does that math work when you're going to tell somebody about this guy. Go ahead, tell them about this guy. It's what the topic is. No, instead you talk about these guys, and your commentary rationale of these guys somehow equates to this guy. What? I know who the best fighter is. I can't prove this. I don't need to be a dick about it, but I've been in there with all of them. I know you're not supposed to tell practice room stories, but if it didn't go your way in the practice room, the rules are different, and you could tell the story. George is the best. That's your answer, ever. What kind of divisible are you going to put in when George goes out there and dominates a wrestling champion like Josh Koscheck, or knocks out a world champion like Matt Hughes, or passes the guard of a jiu-jitsu ace like Nick Diaz? What kind of equation are you putting into the gap? Which 170-pounder do you believe can take George St-Pierre down? Which 70-pounder out there do you believe George cannot take down? Let's just start with that. You cannot deduce one entity by drawing a conclusion to others, and if you do it, we should dismiss you, and we should tell the kids in the back seat that guy is on drugs. Gilbert Burns is not thrilled over Colby Covington potentially getting the next welterweight title shot. Gilbert said, "I hope not. I think he's got to fight. Guy hasn't fought in a year. His last fight was against Masvidal, then he disappeared. I hope he's not next, but like I said, what I hope sometimes doesn't come true. If he's next, it's all good. I still gotta beat Jorge, but then I gotta beat the other guys that are in there, and I'm not making too many expectations. I just gotta keep on winning my fights, and eventually I'm gonna get a title shot. That's where I'm at right now." He's smart because March makes 1 year since his last fight, so he's gotta fight. He's gotta do something. He's very smart to put himself. I don't know if UFC offered him or if he offered himself to be a backup, but he's very smart, so at least they're not going to kick him out of the ranks. It was a very smart move from him, but we'll see. I got to fight all these guys. I'm going to keep calling them out. We'll see. That's a fight that I wanted, but we'll see. Jorge now is the goal. I got to keep my focus on Jorge, but we'll see what's next after Jorge. If you missed yesterday's video, we reported on Khamzat Chimaev claiming that he beat up Jiri Prochazka in sparring and has footage of this. Jiri responded via his Instagram story. Here's what he had to say.
Man, which person needs to speak again and again about these 4 years old information, gym inside information? Man, when we will meet next time in a cage, I will show you my true power. I will not take it lightly more. Don't speak about others too much. Love you so more.
Khamzat Chimaev posted the two's DM conversation to his Instagram story. Khamzat replied to Jiri's video saying, "See you soon, boy. Respect. Let's fight in Sweden, June or July." Khamzat added the UFC, Dana White, and Jiri. And that's going to wrap it up for the news. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe to Full Mount MMA and click the bell icon to be notified when we post future ones. Here are the 3 top comments from last video. These comments are in reference to Khamzat Chimaev claiming that he beat up Jiri Prochazka in sparring and has footage. The first one's from Michael Smith. It says someone needs to tell Khamzat that sparring and fighting aren't the same thing. The second one's from James Hughes. It says Jiri Prochazka seems like the kind of guy that spars with someone for the learning experience or just to get some good work in. Khamzat does because he always has something to prove. I really think Khamzat has some mental and emotional issues that he needs to address. And the final one's from PS9501. It says Khamzat maybe had his moments with Jiri, but he doesn't realize sparring is always sparring. We heard how Burns could submit Usman in sparring, but the actual fight played totally differently. If there were just pure grappling, wrestling, I could see Khamzat giving Jiri problems. But in an actual fight, when kicks, punches, and elbows are allowed, it's a totally different ballgame. Those were the 3 top comments from last video. If you want to be featured on the next one, all you have to do is comment down below. If you missed yesterday's news, click the video on screen to get caught up. And make sure to go subscribe to our second channel where we post our exclusive MMA interviews.